Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the fascinating neuroscience of exactly why you procrastinate. And spoiler alert, we're going to explore how you can stop relying on fleeting willpower and instead flip a hidden motivation switch located deep in your brain, a switch that practically forces you to crave doing the hard work. So, if you've ever felt like your brain is just actively fighting against your own goals, well, you are in exactly the right place.
Okay, picture this. Your alarm goes off and boom, you immediately hit snooze. That fiery enthusiasm you had the night before, it's completely evaporated. Your blanket feels like a literal concrete slab, and the day ahead just feels like an enemy to avoid. You finally get to your desk. The cursor blinks, the to-do list stares back at you, and by the afternoon, you are completely lost in trivial distractions. Sound familiar? Well, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is this. You are not actually lazy. Procrastination really isn't the problem, and there is absolutely nothing abnormal about you. Your lack of drive isn't a personal failing at all. It's simply a reliance on the wrong type of fuel.
Here's our cognitive roadmap for this explainer. We'll be hitting 1. The hidden motivation switch. 2. Fossil fuels versus fusion energy. 3. The 5 intrinsic motivators. 4. The virtuous cycle of flow. 5. Upgrading your motivational stack. And finally 6. Becoming a Zen warrior. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The hidden motivation switch. Every single time you face that daily struggle, the untouched to-do list, the afternoon distractions, that overwhelming urge to just put it off until tomorrow, your brain is actually crying out for a completely different chemical cocktail. Science shows we possess a biological mechanism that can unlock a level of motivation vastly more powerful than money, praise, or fame. It's literally built right into our neurobiology, we just haven't been taught how to turn it on.
Section 2. Fossil fuels versus fusion energy. Now, to understand how to actually flip this hidden switch, we first need to look at the psychological fuel sources you're currently running on and why one of them vastly outperforms the other.
Broadly speaking, there are two main types of motivation. First, you've got extrinsic motivation. This comes from the outside. Money, status, praise, maybe a promotion. You act purely for the sake of the reward. Think of it like a rocket's booster engine or fossil fuels. It gives you this massive temporary boost to get off the launch pad, but eventually it just burns out. And neurologically, here's exactly why. Your brain loves the anticipation of the reward, but once you actually get that status or that cash, your dopamine plummets, because dopamine is a molecule of anticipation, not fulfillment. So you're left feeling empty, needing an even bigger reward just to get moving again. Intrinsic motivation, on the other hand, comes from within. You do the activity for its own sake, kind of like listening to a song simply to enjoy the music, not just to get to the end of the track. Think of intrinsic motivation like fusion energy. It's the self-sustaining energy source of the stars. It compounds, it's incredibly efficient, and it makes doing very hard work feel completely effortless.
Section 3. The 5 intrinsic motivators. To upgrade your personal fuel source from dirty fossil fuels to this limitless fusion energy, you've got to focus on and consciously dial up 5 specific intrinsic motivators in your daily life.
Here is the exact framework. These are your 5 intrinsic drives. First is curiosity. That's the insatiable itch to learn, what you naturally explore when no one else is watching. Next is mastery, the pursuit of continuous improvement, that deep satisfaction you get from getting just a little bit better at a really difficult skill. Then autotelicity, which is the pure love for the actual activity itself. Purpose connects your isolated daily work to a much larger, meaningful impact on the world or your community. And finally, autonomy, your ultimate freedom to choose the how, the when, and the what of your work. Together, these 5 align to create a flawless, self-sustaining engine.
I really want to hit pause specifically on autotelicity for a second, because it is so often the missing link in modern careers. Derived from the Greek words for self-purpose, autotelicity basically means you actually love the hour-to-hour activities of your work. Without it, well, you're exactly like an attorney who loves the noble, overarching idea of justice, but absolutely despises the day-to-day reality of reading dry trial cases. You think even if your overarching purpose is incredibly high, if you don't have autotelicity, your daily life simply becomes an exhausting, soul-crushing grind.
Ryan Doris, the CEO of the Flow Research Collective, provides a perfect real-world example of diagnosing this exact problem. In his early 20s, he was pursuing a PhD in neuroscience. His curiosity was totally through the roof, and his purpose, which was elevating human consciousness, was massive. But he was severely burning out. Why? Well, by using this framework, he realized his autotelicity was incredibly low. He absolutely hated crunching spreadsheet data in a windowless lab. His mastery was capped because he didn't have a clear path to endlessly improve. and his autonomy was practically zero thanks to strict, slow-moving academic guardrails. Recognizing all this, he shifted from academia to building a startup, and suddenly the contrast was staggering. His curiosity and purpose remained high, but his mastery, autotelicity, and autonomy absolutely skyrocketed in a fast-paced environment where he was calling the shots. His motivation stack was finally perfectly aligned. Section 4. The virtuous cycle of flow. So what actually happens inside the biology of your brain when you align these 5 motivators? Let's take a look under the hood. When you dial up these 5 motivators, your brain releases powerful, performance-enhancing neurochemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine. This actively lowers your cognitive load, meaning that super annoying, nagging inner critic simply shuts off, and it pushes you into what psychologists call a flow state. This is an optimal state of consciousness where you feel and function at your absolute peak. The line between work and play just completely blurs. And as you dive deeper into it, your brain gets flooded with a rich cascade of endorphins to kill pain, serotonin to create a sense of deep satisfaction, and anandamide, which by the way is literally known by neuroscientists as the bliss molecule. And right here is where the magic truly happens. These intrinsic motivators get you into flow. But flow itself is an experience so deeply rewarding that it then actively compounds your intrinsic motivation. The more motivated you are, the more flow you get. And the more flow you experience, the more motivated you become. It creates this incredibly powerful, unstoppable, virtuous cycle. This is the exact neurochemical loop that keeps peak performers relentlessly driven. This is the engine that powered Albert Einstein's insatiable curiosity, Vincent van Gogh's artistic autotelicity, and Serena Williams' relentless mastery over decades of their intense careers. It was never just willpower for them, folks, it was a neurochemical loop.
Section 5. Upgrading your motivational stack. Okay, now for the most important part of this explainer. Let's break down exactly how you can intentionally upgrade your own motivational stack to harness this immense power in your daily professional life.
Grab your practical toolkit, because here's how we do it. To boost curiosity, you've got to tie your learning to immediate feedback. Don't just read a book. Read a chapter, apply the concept today, and watch the results happen in real time. For mastery, engage in deliberate practice on the absolute edge of your comfort zone. You're looking for that sweet spot right between boredom and anxiety, continuously correcting your mistakes. To increase autotelicity, don't just chase vague, fleeting passions. Build your career around your innate, unique strengths because doing what you're naturally really good at triggers flow states almost automatically. For purpose, distill your life's overarching mission into a single, highly focused sentence. Then consciously build a cognitive bridge linking your most mundane daily tasks, even answering emails, to that grand mission. And finally, to gain autonomy, focus on building highly valuable, rare skills and a really strong network. This creates literal optionality, giving you those quote-unquote FU skills and the ultimate leverage to choose your path and walk away from bad situations at any moment. Now you might be wondering, how do you measure all of this? Well, rate each of the 5 motivators on a scale of 1 to 10 for your current job or project. Your quantifiable goal should be to boost each motivator by 5 points per year, aiming for a maximum, completely dialed-in score of 50. From now on, whenever you feel that overwhelming, heavy urge to just stay in bed and hide from your to-do list, I want you to treat it as a vital diagnostic tool. It is not laziness. It just means one of your key motivators has dropped, and you need to check your dashboard and adjust your stack.
Section 6. Becoming a Zen warrior. Because once you systematically upgrade your fuel source from those exhausting fossil fuels to limitless fusion energy, it fundamentally changes how you experience success on a daily basis. Which brings us to our final concept. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, widely known as the godfather of flow, perfectly captures this psychological shift. He points out that the goal of this drive is primarily the experience itself, rather than any future reward or advantage it might bring. When the experience itself becomes the primary reward, you are suddenly freed. The constant, exhausting grind for external validation, the paralyzing fear of failure, the unhealthy obsession with arbitrary metrics, all of that simply burns away.
You essentially evolve into what we can call a Zen warrior. On one hand, you develop the profound, calm detachment of a monk regarding external trappings like money, status, or fame, but that is perfectly paired with the fierce, imperturbable engagement of a warrior. You end up chasing mastery over money, you choose purpose over position, you prioritize curiosity over conformity. You become completely obsessed with the actual craft of the work itself, but totally immune to being manipulated by the external judgments of others. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative question to reflect on today.
Take a really close look at your own daily grind. What external validations, what fossil fuels do you need to finally let go of in order to unlock your true, self-sustaining drive? Upgrade your stack, chase the flow, and transform the way you work forever. Thanks so much for learning with us today.